With us this morning is a Fox News host. She was a DA, she was a judge, and we have with us Judge Jeanine Pirro. Good morning, Judge. How are you this morning?
Good, John. Good morning to you. It's good to talk to you this morning. And it's certainly good to be in New York as opposed to other parts of the country. I'll tell you, my heart goes out to everyone affected by these floods.
Texas, Florida, what a mess. And we hope the people are going to be okay. Washington is a mess. And tell us about, I've heard you tell us about Washington. Tell our audience about Washington.
Well, I must tell you, Washington is a swamp, and there's a reason that the people in this country voted for Donald Trump. They're sick of the establishment. They're sick of the fact that although there are ostensibly two different parties, it's really one party where you have the elite 50 senators, one hand washes the other. Their whole job is to get enough money so that they can run again and maintain their seat. It almost doesn't matter which party they belong to. And I think that when America elected Donald Trump president, they said, we don't want this anymore. We want someone who's going to work for us. And so, with this, outsider who came in, all that I've been watching, and, on my show Justice, I talk about this all the time on Fox, all I watch is that the establishment is out to get Donald Trump. They say nice things because they don't want to really be outed. But when I saw Donald Trump this week decide that he was going to cut a deal with Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, certainly, not people that I admire for sure, but I can't blame him. And I said, good for him. Not only is he going to shake up the establishment, but he's going to change the paradigm. People in Washington have to understand that this man is going to do what's right for us. We've got victims in Texas, victims in Florida, coming up the coast now, where, we have to take care of Americans. And if the president's own party, and what an embarrassment, we've got the Republicans have the House, they have the Senate, and the White House, and they can't get anything done. And for Mitch McConnell to say that the president had unrealistic expectations on health care is bizarre because he had 7 years to change it. There were Republicans who ran on voting for repeal and replacement, and then when it got time to actually vote, voted the other way. If nothing more, John, what we're seeing is the hypocrisy and the double-talking politicians. And that's why we need to have term limits. These people have to go. The president can only be there for 2 terms. They shouldn't be there for more than 2.
Both sides are against President Trump. The old expression, it's the deep state. It's the people that have been in that swamp for so long, they don't want anybody stirring the pot.
Well, you're absolutely right, and it is both sides. And, Donald Trump, I've known the man for, I should call him President Trump, I've known the man for almost 3 decades. Here's a man who has incredible energy, who loves to fight, who has no problem recognizing what he needs to do to cut a deal. And that's what he did. It didn't take him long to figure out. Paul Ryan, for all his talk, and Mitch McConnell, for all their talk, they're going to get things done, and this is great. The truth is, as soon as the president does something they don't like, they're the first to criticize him. And I think that what we're going to see going forward is a president crossing the aisle, which is what the American people want, in order to get Americans what they need. If we need to raise the debt ceiling to take care of the victims of Haley and Irma, my family, John, lost a house in upstate New York to a hurricane and a flood. It is devastating. The loss. You almost have a post-traumatic stress syndrome from it. I remember we went back to our home years ago. It was condemned. Army Corps of Engineers came in and said, you can't even go in there. People on the street, some of them got divorced and, who committed suicide. Some people never picked themselves up. And, I was fortunate. My family, had the resourcefulness and the resilience to do it. But we need a president who's going to do what we sent him to Washington to do, and that's to clean that swamp. And the American people are supporting him, although your polls may not say it. Not that we should even, respect them given the last election. But the American people understand what's going on, and they support him.
Judge, there seems to be a new era of a little bit of cooperation between the Democrats and President Trump. It started last week with the debt ceiling. I also heard a rumor that President Trump has signed off on the new tunnel in New York. Have you heard anything like that yet?
Well, no, I haven't heard anything about that. But you know what? When you say that about the tunnel itself, but when you say that maybe the president is starting to make the connections that he needs to make government work. I mean, that's the man. I mean, that's President Trump. He's a deal maker. And if for 9 months the Republican establishment that continuously criticizes him and backbites can't get anything done, then it's time for the president to move across the aisle. And he's tried to do that before. This isn't the first time. But you know what? Let the Republicans be shocked. Let them understand that this president is the outsider. He's not going to stand there and support them just to get things done because he's a Republican. No, that's not who the man is. So it's all good. But I don't know anything about the tunnel.
Judge, how well do you know General Kelly?
Well, I've only met General Kelly a few times, but I know him to be an honorable man of great integrity, very organized, doesn't waste time, no nonsense, straight shooter, and obviously he's a Gold Star father. I mean, he suffered the greatest loss, and that's the loss of his own son in the military. I think that John Kelly is one of the people who, like the president, is not really political. John Kelly had a mission to do, and he conducted himself with great dignity and valor, and that's why he's a 4-star. But more than that, he understands, like the president understands, that it's not about one hand washing the other, or backslapping. And I think that he's going to be a great, great contribution to this president, to the administration.
I've also heard you criticize what's going on in the Justice Department and the FBI. Tell us your feelings.
Well, I have to tell you, John, I mean, you know my background. I was a prosecutor and a judge. I think that the revelation that came out that Jim Comey, the supposed straight-shooting honorable man, decided that he was going to write a letter of exoneration for Hillary Clinton before 17 witnesses were even interviewed and before the target herself was even interviewed, then, I mean, that tells me that the fix was in. And the fix was definitely in because it was the president himself who came out in April of 2016 and said, look, Hillary Clinton had no malicious intent, and, the national security was never at risk. And then that same month is when Jim Comey comes out and says, I'm going to start writing this draft letter exonerating Hillary Clinton, and then the newspapers start writing about it. Look, this is public corruption at the highest level, where you've got the Attorney General meeting with the spouse of a target of an active criminal investigation, where the FBI head, Jim Comey, who had absolutely no right to come out and talk about whether there should be a prosecution, comes out and basically absolves Loretta Lynch of taking any position when she didn't recuse herself. And in the end, what we've got is the Justice Department, the State Department, covering up for Hillary now that we're trying to get freedom of information of her records, saying that she is entitled to her privacy. Well, that's hogwash. This woman ran for president. She's not entitled to any privacy. And honestly, the woman just can't give up. She can't go away. She keeps talking about everybody to blame for her loss. So I really think Jeff Sessions has to come up with a He's got to panel a grand jury. He's got to put Jim Comey as a target of that grand jury, and do the same thing with Hillary. Look, no one is above the law, and no one is below it. And right now, the American public has lost faith in the criminal justice system because of these bozos covering up for each other. And it's got to end, John. It's got to end.
I think the American people deserve to know what really happened and deserve to know the truth. And, that's my position. And whatever the truth is. Let the pebbles fall as they may.
Look, have you ever heard of a target of a criminal investigation, deleting evidence? I mean, that's concealment, that's tampering. Forget about the underlying crime itself, which is so obvious. I mean, we've got a kid who was on a submarine, took a picture of the submarine. That was considered classified. The kid's in jail now. I mean, this is nonsense. And this Obama...
So you're saying there's two sets of laws in our country right now?
There are two sets of laws. And you've got the people in power who just skate, and the little guy, the forgotten man, as Donald Trump called him, who gets in trouble for crossing, for jaywalking. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Judge, we have a minute left, and the American people Sunday morning, they're drinking their cup of coffee. What would you like to tell them?
I think that the American people, are drinking their coffee as I am, need to, number one, appreciate who we are and what we are. I think we're seeing with our families and friends in Florida and Texas what a great country this is, that where the government will come in and take care of us and do everything it can, and a president who will do whatever he can to make sure that we've got what we need to survive these catastrophes. We need to thank God and thank, our lucky stars that we live in a great country. And the sooner we make sure that the country is one that has equal justice for everyone, the better off we'll all be.
Well, Judge Jeanine Pirro, thank you so much for coming on with us this Sunday morning, and we'll catch up with you again real soon.
All right, John. Great to talk to you. Take care.
Take care. This is the Cats Roundtable, and we'll be right back after these messages.